and welcome to Jamaica Magazine on this rainy Tuesday. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope you and your loved ones are all safe. Remember that if you live in low-lying or flood-prone areas, you should be ready to evacuate. If you haven't already, decide ahead on likely evacuation routes now. Also, avoid flooded waterways. We have important updates from critical state agencies and other information you need to know as the island grapples with the continued rainfall and associated challenges. I'll have the news right after this important message.
On our roads, remember, take time, be courteous, drive good, walk good. Part of keeping our roads safe is ensuring the vehicles we drive are mechanically safe, meeting all roadworthy requirements. And besides that, we must be good drivers and avoid risk-taking and sensation-seeking behaviors which are prone to causing road crashes.
Good day, I'm Lorraine Mendez and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, May 16. The public is being warned that the heavy rains will continue to affect the island over the next 3 days. The National Meteorological Service says a trough across the island will produce outbreaks of showers and thunderstorms across most parishes and is expected to continue affecting the island through to the weekend.
So we're expecting the type of rainfall we're experiencing now to continue for tonight into tomorrow. However, come tomorrow morning, we're not expecting the persistent rains that we've been seeing in the last 24 hours. It will be more in outbreaks of showers. By Thursday, we're still expecting rains, but not as serious as today again. We're expecting it to just peter out, but we should be having rainfall activity from now into Thursday.
The heavy rains caused extensive flooding in several parishes including St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Thomas and St. Anne. A number of roads in those and other parishes were also rendered impassable. Continued vigilance is urged for persons living in low-lying or flood-prone areas. Earlier today, Prime Minister Andrew Holness instructed that all national emergency systems be activated. The emergency agencies include the National Works Agency, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, and local representatives. The Prime Minister, who is in the Dominican Republic for an official visit, ordered the agencies to mobilize their resources to deal with the impact of the extraordinary rain event and to support residents who may need assistance in flooded areas. In response to the Prime Minister's directive, the Emergency Operations Center was activated to Level 2 for areas worst affected by the rains.
Based on the dire situation in several identified communities in let's say St. Anne, Clarendon, Portland, and in St. Thomas. These are the areas that we are focusing on. These are the areas that we are concerned about because of the level of damage so far that they have been experiencing because of the continuous weather.
Meanwhile, Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie says the administration is increasing funds previously released to address damage caused by flooding over the past 3 weeks. It was announced yesterday that $175 million would be made available to repair critical infrastructure in the 6 parishes that were worst affected. But in an interview with JIS News today, Minister McKenzie revealed that those funds will be increased to help St. Anne communities that have been marooned by the heavy rains.
So this $175 million that we have allocated is for 6 municipal corporations, and those are Clarendon, Manchester, Portland, St. Elizabeth, St. Thomas, and Westmoreland. We are going to be making an allocation sometime today into tomorrow to the St. Anne Municipal Corporation because of the problems that they are experiencing. But one thing I can tell you is that I am expecting that the number in terms of the damage that has been inflicted in most parishes is going to increase significantly.
Preliminary reports from the ministry indicates that damage to the road network and other infrastructure from rains in April is close to $500 million. Minister McKenzie says all municipal corporations are to receive funding for Phase 1 of the annual mitigation program. And a review is being done of existing structures, particularly in town centers and other urbanized areas, to determine where drainage capacity can be expanded in the short to medium term. The local government minister says there's some encouraging news as the recent upgrading works on Marcus Garvey Drive appear to be standing up to the heavy rains.
I just had a very encouraging conversation with Mr. E.G. Hunter, the CEO of the National Works Agency, that Marcus Garvey Drive, no flooding has occurred on Marcus Garvey Drive, and I think this is something that we need to give praises for, because everybody experienced, remember what we had a couple of months ago on Marcus Garvey Drive, and with the construction that has taken place there now to widen the mouth of the gully, the water seems to be running freely.
In the meantime, the National Water Commission says while a number of its major systems remain in operation, the heavy rainfall has resulted in high turbidity levels, blocked intakes, blocked access, dislocated pipelines, and some power supply problems that have forced the shutdown of water supply facilities in several parishes. These include Clarendon, where several communities were affected by significant levels of landslides and flooding. Earlier today, the continued downpour forced the shutdown of practically all systems within St. Mary, while similar reports were coming from St. Anne, Portland, and St. Thomas. All East rural water supply systems in Kingston and St. Andrew were also shut down due to extremely high levels of turbidity. St. Catherine customers served by facilities in the Linstead area were also experiencing disruptions in their water supply. The NWC says it will continue to monitor these and other systems over the next 24 hours in the event that further changes occur. And finally, all schools in flood-prone areas across the island were ordered closed by the Ministry of Education today. The ministry released a statement urging parents and school administrators to exercise extreme caution. Meanwhile, an all-island consultation among principals and board chairs of secondary schools planned for today at Jamaica College was also postponed until further notice. Similarly, the training workshops for the National Standards Curriculum in St. Andrew. However, the Overseas Examinations Commission, OEC, says all CXE, GCE or IGCSE exams scheduled for May and June will be held as timetabled, as these are regional and international examinations that cannot be rescheduled. Candidates are encouraged to attend examinations at their designated centers. In cases where flooding and landslides are in play and candidates are unable to access transportation, the OEC says they should go to the nearest examination center where they will be accommodated. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Thanks for watching.
Wet hands with water. Apply enough soap to cover all hand surfaces. Rub hands palm to palm. Right palm over left dorsum with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Backs of fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. Rotational rubbing of left thumb clasped in right palm and vice versa. Rotational rubbing backwards and forwards with clasped fingers of right hand in left palm and vice versa. Rinse hands with water. Dry hands thoroughly with a single-use towel. Use towel to turn off faucet. Your hands are now safe.
As you saw in our newscast, Prime Minister Andrew Holness is in the Dominican Republic but remains on top of developments here at home. Before departing for his official visit to our regional partner, the Prime Minister had a busy week of engagements at Jamaica House. We have the highlights.
National Risk Registry to be established. Phase 1 of HOPE program launched, and
the government of Jamaica is making the commitment to reduce our road fatalities by 50%.
You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Simone Wolf. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says a national risk registry is to be created.
The National Risk Registry will be responsible for the conduct of national risk assessments and will be the primary medium of national risk management in the government, aiming to inform civil emergency contingency planning at the national level based on a process of identification, assessment, and prioritization of a range of representative risk scenarios.
The Prime Minister was speaking Thursday at the Guardsman Group Security Forum at the Knutsford Court Hotel. He said the state would continue to engage the private security sector, which he called a critical part of citizen safety and security.
In addition to their role in job creation of over 23,000 Jamaicans, the private security industry is an essential component of the national security framework, providing value, including protection of access control points, protection for employees, clients, communities, homes, and corporate assets.
Earlier in the week, the Prime Minister launched the employment phase of the Housing Opportunity Production Employment HOPE program. 130,000 unattached youth will benefit from the initiative.
This is not just an employment strategy, a production strategy. This is how we intend to really make transformational changes to our society as well, especially as it relates to crime and violence.
At Monday's launch, Mr. Holness announced Colonel Martin Rickman as the national coordinator for the program. With the help of liaison officers across government, Colonel Rickman will seek out opportunities for youth to be engaged. The Prime Minister said the National Apprenticeship Act will be revised to include the 18 to 24-year-old age group that's targeted under HOPE.
We're going through every ministry, every agency, every department. What are the critical things that you need to get done? The HOPE program will identify the youngsters, give them the necessary skills, bring them under an apprenticeship framework, and set them to work in building a better, more efficient Jamaican public service.
At Jamaica House Wednesday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness committed his government to cutting road fatalities in half by the year 2020. The pledge came as he launched the 4th UN Global Road Safety Week. Mr. Holness said government was increasing its enforcement and would be using technology and increased road safety features to save lives. He also said international partnerships and collaboration with road safety advocates to change behavior would also be utilized.
We are serious about taking the fastest route of action on this initiative. Without a doubt, road safety is a priority for Jamaica, and I am reiterating this as Prime Minister and Chair of the National Road Safety Council.
The doors of the courtesy room were flung open this past week. On Tuesday, Mr. Holness held talks with a delegation from Everglades Farm, the operators of the Long Pond and Hamden sugar estates in Trelawney. Thursday saw the Prime Minister engaging a group of students from the Hanover-based Watford Hill Primary School. And on Friday, Mr. Holness met with a number of businessmen. Friday also saw Prime Minister Holness hosting Jamaica House staff members who are mothers ahead of Mother's Day on Sunday. Before that, the Prime Minister went next door to Jamaica House Basic School to participate in their celebration of Read Across Jamaica Day.
Mommy says, if I drink my milk, I will grow big and strong. Who likes to drink milk? Yeah, so you're going to grow big and Daddy says, if I eat my fruit, I will grow big and strong. So everybody here is going to grow big and strong. Very good. So you're going to start at my knees, and then you're growing to my hips, and then to my ribs, and then very soon you may be taller than I am.
And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Do join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the Office of the Prime Minister.
is the Aedes aegypti mosquito that spreads the Zika, chikungunya, and dengue viruses. Search for its breeding sites and destroy them. A message from the Ministry of Health.
The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management has reported flooding in several parishes. And if you're in one of those areas, please be cautious. This next feature explores why it's important to avoid floodwaters.
Drowning is not the only risk associated with floodwaters. There are, in fact, many other dangers. Walking in floodwaters is not exactly a stroll in the park. It is very dangerous and must be avoided at all costs. Even if the water level is below your knees, you need to be extremely cautious because floodwaters contain visible and hidden dangers.
During the flood, a lot of things are washed out in those waters, dead animals, sewage. So floodwaters would have a lot of bacteria or germs, pollutants, chemicals from agricultural setting. So there are lots of things that can impact and have serious human health effect that can be present in floodwaters.
Many of us usually take a chance by driving through floodwaters, but this is a dangerous practice and motorists must avoid the temptation. Experts say vehicles can easily be swept away in just 24 inches of floodwater because it typically moves much faster than it appears. Many persons around the world, including Jamaica, have lost their lives by driving through floodwaters. So, if you are stranded on a piece of land and you are surrounded by floodwaters, it is important that you wait for rescue personnel rather than attempting to walk or drive through the murky depths. Dangerous bacteria and other pollutants are common in floodwaters. What's called waterborne diseases can be contracted by drinking the water. Walking through the water can be just as unhealthy as walking through human waste.
Major ones are some of the parasitic disease like ringworm, because a lot of fecal material can be, you can even get typhoid fever, which is a very, very serious condition. You can also get tetanus and gastroenteritis by ingesting this water, and of course leptospirosis, which is endemic to Jamaica.
Leptospirosis is a bacterial disease that affects humans and animals. Doctors say it is a serious illness that may affect many parts of the body.
All animals are reservoirs of leptospirosis, and it also causes diseases in them. But some of the major ones, of course, is our domestic animal, and closest to us, the dogs. The disease is transmitted mainly by making contact with water that is infected with the bacteria, and as you know, the bacteria is sometimes in infected animal, rodents. All of those things are usually washed out in flood waters, and you get the bacteria by ingesting it, or by simply the organism can penetrate your skin. Worse yet, if you have a cut or some abrasion, it will be much easier for the bacteria to enter.
The symptoms of leptospirosis may include dry cough, fever, headache, muscle pain, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. If you have any of these symptoms or observed them in a family member, visit your doctor or any government hospital or clinic immediately. Doctors say untreated leptospirosis can cause death in a short time in humans and animals.
There is treatment for it, but of course we would prefer if you do not wade in flood waters, because there are multitudes of germs that can be present in this water. There is treatment, but hopefully you would get to a health facility early enough so you can be diagnosed and treated.
According to medical experts, disease prevention consists of good sanitation. So with proper sanitation, leptospirosis and other waterborne diseases can be prevented.
October, November, December is when we see most of our cases of leptospirosis. So we would certainly advise the public, young people especially, the water may look attractive, but this is really not safe water for you to recreate in. And this would certainly help to prevent some of these diseases such as leptospirosis.
We are still in the hurricane season, which among other things means the heightened possibility of flooding. So protect yourself and your family from the dangers of flood waters.
Don't make diseases spread. Wash your hands with soap and water instead. Wash them regular or use a hand sanitizer. Make sure the germs them dead. Touching your eyes or your mouth or your nose. Wash your hands before you do things like those. After you use the bathroom before preparing food, come on, wash your hand them clean.
If you're like me, one of the first concerns at this time is the state of your roof. For many people, leaks are now a very real and uncomfortable reality. As the country is expected to continue experiencing mild to heavy rainfall, we have some tips for ensuring your roof is disaster-proof.
Pitched, flat, arched, or gabled. It's the last uppermost line of defense against the elements. Vital cover for your valuable possessions in the face of nature's fury. Roofs are essential to a complete, properly constructed house, and in climates like ours, must be laid to withstand destructive tropical cyclones, not least among them hurricanes. Emergency management experts say after the visit of one of these elements, the island usually faces severe economic loss as a result of roofs being destroyed.
After Gustav, after Ivan, after Hurricane Dean, a large number of homes, certainly in the rural areas, have sustained significant damage, from minor to severe damage, including total losses. So of course, if you were to apply the replacement value on that, it is significantly high.
The three main types of roofs that we have in common practice today are concrete, timber, and a combination of those two with other materials.
The hip end roof is perhaps the best design to use. It gives you a greater incline, which allows the wind energy to dissipate while going over it rather than going under, thus lifting the roof, causing the roof to pop off. And then you have the gable roof, which is the next best roof.
Importantly, straps are needed.
When the OPM team goes into communities after an event and we do the damage assessment, we've noticed that a number of these homes are without hurricane straps. The roofs are not properly designed, and the damage is quite significant.
To make sure that that member would not be dislodged or come off during high winds, it is bolted or attached or screwed to a perimeter wall plate. The structural members, which are the timber joists, are attached to the wall plates with twisted metal straps or U-straps or other fixtures involving wooden screws of those metals. Hurricanes differ in their velocity or speed of the winds that might affect our buildings. So you've got to make sure that the structural integrity of the members are sufficient to bear the pressure that a hurricane wind would place on a roof.
Concrete roofs generally prove more difficult to destroy in a hurricane, but if improperly laid, are just as vulnerable to grave damage.
There's a great misconception about the concrete roof being all that waterproof. But from time to time, depending on the mix and the maintenance of the roof, water could pond on the roof and soak through cracks that would appear because of shrinkages that take place. So you've got to be careful and make sure that you provide an impervious layer to the concrete.
So before one slabs, an engineer must be consulted. The correct procedures must be adhered to protect your roof and the valuables it protects.
This is a clay tile that is often used on certain types of residential construction. It's impervious, it will not contribute to fire,
and properly secured with fastenings, it will withstand most hurricanes. It was not desired to lay flat because the water would go into them. This is another example of the sheeting that is commonly used on residential buildings. It's extruded aluminium sheeting. You see where the V goes up, there's a wooden fillet that is placed there, and each of those are secured by a screw. That enables the roof to stay on even with high winds. These are examples of the shrinkage cracks that you can get in your concrete slab. This slab roof has been rendered since it's been constructed. Yet still, from time to time, you will still get these shrinkage cracks. And once they're there, water can percolate through.
If you're a business owner, you would have invested heavily in your business operations. And what you don't want is to have to stop operating immediately after a major event. If you lose your roofing, then certainly your investments are going to be damaged significantly, and it will set you back for some time as you seek to recover from these operations. If you're a homeowner, certainly you don't want to be displaced during a major event. It is the most uncomfortable kind of scenario.
This is where the magazine closes for today, but there's a lot more to see on our webpage, jis.gov.jm. There you may find relevant information on measures to stay safe during heavy rains or periods of national disaster. For more television features, visit our YouTube channel. We're also on other social media sites, or you may download our app from the Google Play Store to stay informed while you're on the go. Have a safe evening.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.